What's up, guys? Welcome to the Crypto Savvy channel. I'm Craig, and we are going to be tracking the Bitcoin market. We're also going to take a look at the Dow and the dollar real quick before we begin. Remember, guys, it is the weekend. Happy Friday. I hope everyone has a great weekend. Crazy stuff can happen on the weekend. Could we get a pump up and where to? Could we get a drop down and where to? We're going to take a look at the charts, see what they're telling us, and let's check it out. So, looking at the futures. Futures are up for the Dow, down for both the S&P, NASDAQ futures. This is pre-market. We'll see what happens. Hopefully this video gets out before the market, but if not, let's take a look at what to look for, what to watch for. So the Dow, we talked about this yesterday, coming up to test the middle of this channel, which we did. Now, if we get a pump today and get support on top of here, then obviously we can go a little bit higher, but we did have a breakout of the RSI down here, but what we're getting right now is hidden bearish divergence on the RSI. We're getting higher highs in the RSI, lower highs in the price action. That is pretty bearish. I do want to see what the markets do today, but again, like I said, it's the weekend. Anything can happen. We're going to take a look at both the upside and the downside. But I am looking at this as bearish. I think we're going to get some downside in the markets today, but it is Friday, and a lot of times the markets like to pump on Fridays. So anyways, let's take a look at the DXY. Still getting support at that 106 range. Remember, if we break that range, open and close a 4-hour below there, then we'd be looking for this 105 range possible. We do have the 200 EMA in there also. But again, we're going to have to see how this plays out right here. But let's take a look at Bitcoin. So we're going to take a look at some major areas. On the monthly, we have this 24.5 range, which is the 55 EMA, which so far we've been getting rejected on. Again, this is the monthly. So overall, I'm still bearish. I think we're going to see much more downside, even if we do get a fake pump this weekend. I know everyone's getting extremely bullish, and that's how bull traps work. They wouldn't work if everybody was bearish, right? So anyways, let's take a look at the RSI. Again, the monthly close on this RSI is going to be extremely important. If we close below this trend line, it's going to get ugly. If we close above it, then possibly we could, come up to test these EMAs in that 30,000 range. But as of right now, the monthly is still looking bearish. We're still below the 55 EMA. And taking a look at the weekly, still getting rejected at the 8 EMA here. Let me zoom in so you can see it. That is the red line. So if the weekly closes above this, then we may see more upside next week. But if we close below, chances are we're going to continue to the downside next week. We're going to go into the smaller time frames too, so stick around. But as of right now, we talked about this yesterday. This is the weekly. So if we see a weekly close below here, I believe this was just a trap. And we come back down to test the bottom of the weekly, possibly next week around that 19,006 range. If that breaks, you guys know the lower targets, 1524, 14, and I'll show you how I got those. So looking at this as a rising channel, if we were to break down over here, 1524, if we break the 19.5 range next week, if we look at it, you can see the yellow line as a rising broadening wedge. And then we come down next week to break this. That would get us to approximately 14.2 range, and the bear flag here, looking at this as a bear flag, we're to break that next week down here would be around that 7,200. Now that doesn't mean we go down there next week, and I'll show you in the smaller time frames of patterns. So this is the daily. This is what we've been watching: our 5 waves down, our ABC correction up, and our downsides here. Now our target, this has been major resistance. If you guys watched me on BitBoy a couple weeks ago, I had this drawn in there also. But this was our target from way back in November when we broke it here. We had this target at 24.3. Nobody thought that would happen except me, of course. And you can see what happened after that. It took us, probably about 6 or 7 months to get down there. So these measured moves play out. They just don't play out in an instant, right? So it takes time. And if you guys watch the channel for any amount of time, you know that I've been calling for the low to be in sometime in 2023. Everybody talks about the 4-year cycle. I told you how I thought about that. If you look at any market, it looks like it's on a 4-year cycle because of the elections are every 4 years, the presidential elections. So that has a lot to do with the markets. I don't think it has anything to do with the halving. So anyways, let's take a look at this. So this being our target, 24.3 area, which we did break through, I think we're just coming back and testing it for resistance. Now, if this holds as resistance, we could get something like this line I've drawn in here. You know, this could take maybe the end of the year we hit here, but I've talked also about the false bottom. Every time a bubble pops, there's always a false bottom, and you get a nice little rally for, you know, a few months or whatever, and then come back down. As you guys know, my target's between 3 and 6,000 or 3 and 7,000 sometime in 2023. I still believe that to be true. This may be our first bottom, maybe towards the end of the year. Now, in every 4-year cycle, if you want to go by 4-year cycles, then we still have till November or December before the bottom is in. Everybody wants to be all about the 4-year cycles, but then when you truly look at the 4-year cycle, they don't want to. Let me find, I have a chart here of the 4-year cycle right here. So I believe this is just one big bull cycle. Since the conception of Bitcoin in 2009, it has done nothing but go up. The traditional markets have only been in a bull market. I believe the traditional markets are in a bear market, and it's going to get very ugly. And Bitcoin is not going to decouple if that happens. It will not be able to hold up in a traditional bear market. So I believe this could be our first bear market. But even if it was the 4-year cycle that everyone believes so much in, then every time we have a 4-year cycle, you can see this here took 426 days till bottom. This took 365 days till bottom. So if this took 365 days, which was our shortest, that would still get us sometime towards the end of the year. So by no means do I think the bottom's in here. I know everybody's calling for it, but again, they want to call the 4-year cycle and say it's always a 4-year cycle, and it always bottoms around the same time, always tops around the same time. Well, if that's the case, why aren't they talking about this? It should be the end of this year. Just putting that out there. Obviously, you have to make your own decisions there. But so I'm thinking we're going to see something like this. Now, if we do break above this 55 EMA on the daily, then we're going to go into the smaller time frames and see what that might look like. If you guys are interested in trading, I suggest Prime XBT. I have a link down below. Definitely a great exchange. You can trade the Dow, S&P, gold, oil, silver, all kinds of stuff, all from one exchange. And you can have multiple trades in longs and short. Unlike the other exchanges that clump them all together, you can do it all from one screen, so you don't have to have multiple accounts. Definitely check it out if you haven't already. Promo code SAVVY25 will get you 25% off your trading fees. SAVVY50 will get you up to a $7,000 bonus after your deposit. So let's take a look at what's going on here. So we've been talking about this, watching this. Right, let me get this out of the way first. So we've been talking about this looking like a fractal from the bigger one we had up here where we broke the top. Although we didn't break it quite as much as we broke it right here. But if you look at what happened, we came up, broke it, came below, came above one more time. Kind of like what we're doing right now. Again, if we break this 24.3 range, then I do have a measured move target, and that's just using, I don't know where that went, but that's just using the width of this channel here, and that gets us up to about 27.3. There is some confluence if we throw the fibs on here from this swing high over here. We throw the fibs on there, bring it down. That can get us to the 0.618 fib, and it's right in that area between 26.7 and 27.3. That would show some confluence, and then maybe this is wave 1, 2, and then we have 3 down going much lower down. As you guys know, this is just a measured move target of this flag pull. Bring it down to the bottom and our bear flag. Also in the RSI, we've had alternate touches here. We've had touch the top, the bottom, top, bottom, top. We talked about this when this happened. We didn't quite touch the top here, but we I actually still didn't quite touch the top here. So I think that's close enough. What we should see now is something like this. You know, if we get a little pump up, come back down and something like this. And then, you know, towards the end of the year, really break down over here off of this, going to these lower lows. I still truly believe that's where we're headed. But again, it is the weekend. We could have a nice rally up if we break this 24.3 to 24.5 range. Need to keep an eye on that. If we break the 24.3 to 24.5, we're most likely headed up to that 27.3 area. So keep a close eye on that. Otherwise, if we are not able to break that and we keep getting rejected, get back down in this channel. We can move this over now. If we get back down in this channel, which is currently around 23.4, we get back below that, get rejected, we're most likely going to come down and test the center of this channel somewhere between, depending on how fast, if it gets down there, between 25.50 and 21.8, somewhere in that area. Maybe get a bounce around in here for a while and then continue down to these lower areas. Now, if we were to come down this weekend, that would be around 19.7 or so. Most likely, we won't break through the bottom of this till as long as we don't get our pump here, but we most likely won't break through the bottom of this till sometime next week, unless we get a major dump this weekend. Anything can happen, right? So let's take a look at that. So if this does break, say it breaks that 19.8 somewhere in there, possibly this weekend, most like, if you can see what happens here, we could see something like this, but it was a slow roll down to that range. So either way, once we break this, our next target's obviously going to be that 17.5, the old low. Maybe bounce around there for a while. Next target after that's 15.7. And then, of course, we have our much lower lows. Another thing I wanted to look at was just pointing out here how similar these are. This could be a fractal. We could just continue down from here again, unless we get that break of 24.3 to 24.5. Then I'm looking for around the 27,000. Another thing I wanted to point out is this could just be a rising wedge. Again, we have touch on the bottom, touch on the top, touch on the bottom, touch on the top, possibly come back down and test this again. Let's see where that would, if we get something like that, another 5 waves down to touch the bottom of this, where would that get us? We take a measured move. And this bottom would be right around that 19.8, somewhere in that range. And if that was the case, and again, that changes depending on how quick it would happen, but that would get us a target of around that 14.4. So there it is, guys. Have a great weekend. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget, smash those thumbs up. Leave your comments down below. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you in the next one. Also, share the video if you would. I'd appreciate it.